Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
Today's guest is Dr. Gabrielle Rodter, and she hails from Switzerland. She's got a great watch. She's got a great outfit. She's an elegant lady. But can I call you Gabrielle for today? Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast.
Thank you so much, Mitch, for introducing me. Of course, please call me Gabrielle.
Okay, Gabrielle. All right, Gabrielle. Oh, that could mean something else, but we'll stay with Gabrielle. And you're in Switzerland. And I mentioned before we started this interview today, you are so immersed into doing things well, which I admire. And you've started your own podcast. Give us an idea what that entails. What is your podcast about? Who do you serve? And I'll let you fill in the gaps from there.
Well, thank you so much. Well, my podcast is called Wire for Work. The term wiring is a term which I came across while I was studying cognitive neuroscience. And cognitive neuroscience caught my attention after I had gone through education in the humanities, education philosophy, psychology. And I was kind of disappointed that we still have not found a way to really train people so that they also change in the way they behave. So we have lots of teamwork going on and seminars and everything, but then people go back to work and business as usual. So now then cognitive neuroscience taught me what we know from education, that if you want to make change, you need to do things repeatedly the same way and really build the muscle. And so Wiring for Work now is a podcast I am launching for professionals, academics, mid-career people, also executives, simply people who think they want to transform in some way or the other their professional life, aligning it to their personality, to whom they are, how they feel they are, so that they can live a career or develop a career which is fulfilling them. Because fulfillment also helps not to burn out. And I think in this challenging world we are in, and the challenging workplace, and this rapidly changing world, I think it is important to become more aware of who we are, in order to have the options and possibilities, make the decisions which are right for us.
I want to go back to habit formation, because this is something neurological, and this plays to your education and your background and neuroscience. Tell us in layman terms, or layperson terms, I don't want to get troubled by the woke, layperson terms, what neuroscience is.
Well, neuroscience is the science of how the brain works. And this science has started even in ancient times, but the modern neuroscience with MRIT, and so these technological options, possibilities.
What is MRIT? MRIT? Yeah, if you could spell out acronyms.
It is like an X-ray of the brain. So you see what areas are active, what areas have oxygen. So when we see there is oxygen, then we know, in that area, the brain is active. And this is how neuroscientists can then deduct insights and tell what leads to what. And now what we learn is, of course, for example, under stress, the brain shuts off. So if you have panic or stress, then you're not able to really think anymore. This is something we can see in these scans. And from that, we can learn how to deal with people. So we should actually not stress them if we want them to really operate in a meaningful and in a very good way to really perform. So it is important that we take into account how important emotions are, so that we can actually enable people to live with good emotions and to work with good emotions also at the workplace, for example.
So that's at the workplace. Now I'm going to take to the extreme where emotions are at the highest, stress is at the highest. Two boxers in the ring. They have to think because one is going to get his block knocked off. And what's going on in that scenario or a wartime scenario? That type of stress can't be sustainable, can it? Isn't that just for a period of time that they can access that?
Yes, I think the brain needs a lot of oxygen and sugar, so energy. And I think that if you have these sportsmen in a competition, like you described it, these are people who have practiced this, the movement and the tactics for days, weeks, months, and even years. So the better they become, the more automatic some things happen. And I believe that these people, they are under high stress, and they have, of course, made sure that they have enough energy for the time span of their competition. But then there are things which they make decisions, but they make unconscious decisions because their body is already trained to unconsciously apprehend and foresee what's going to happen, what might be happening. So this is actually happening on an unconscious level, but it's only possible because the unconsciousness has been trained over many, many years.
Totally agree. I taught martial arts for years. And I remember the most common question I would get asked by students who would come in, and I was no different when I began. I was a result of getting bullied as a kid in the park where I got spat on and got called racial names by a different race of people, but kids when I was 7. And I hated that feeling. So it was the emotional driver was there to learn how to defend myself and being taken advantage of. And then people would ask me when I then became an instructor after I earned a couple, black belts, and when can I kick ass? Everybody, especially guys and women, want to know when. They're essentially asking, when can I not be a victim anymore and defend myself? That's the real question behind it. Most have a victim story of being bullied and the emotion that is charged that. How long does it take? And the rule of thumb answer is when it becomes automatic and it's automagical, because you will start to block subconsciously. Just as I said, you'll know how to deflect, get out of the way, and return with a punch or kick of your own. And it's the same thing you're talking about. And for the advice I dispense, it'll take about a year, 3 days a week, diligent practice to where then you can use it and become more proficient at it. Now, you mentioned habit formation. How long does it take I hear all these conflicting theories, but I want to talk to a true PhD. When does a habit become changed? When do you then instill a habit?
Actually, this is a question which is not 100%. The neuroscientists don't really agree 100%. But let's say it takes at least about 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay.
6 weeks, but that's just the start of it. What you described before is profession. And
yes.
We know that masters, they have trained for 10,000 of hours.
Yes. From the Outliers book by Malcolm Gladwell. Yes.
Yes. But you need in order to start to realize that there's change happening. You can observe yourself even. If you want to start jogging, for example, again, in the beginning it's really difficult. You need to set the clock. You need to put your shoes ready and everything. Everything needs to be done consciously. But as soon as it is a habit, it is easier. And if you keep up with that, it becomes your second nature. And then this is something which you have really changed. However, we cannot really unlearn. Some say you can unlearn things. Whatever has happened and whatever you have developed in the course of your life, positive and negative things, especially negative things, you cannot override them. So you can try to change your behavior, but if you are under heavy stress, then usually our oldest patterns show up again. So that's why if we have gone through trauma, for example, or if we have had really bad experiences, or even bad habits, so the more you train and keep up with your good habits, the safer you are. But the things, the old habits, the old things, even things which happened in childhood, sometimes they simply show up. You don't know where they come from. But it happens because the system is out of order, is not able to control anymore. And then, of course, the most basic patterns show up.
Do people tend to pick, you're talking about employees now, and I know your podcast covers this. I was thinking about this before we got together today. Do we tend to repeat bad behaviors? Do we then gravitate to finding the same type of boss, let's say a or dysfunctional working relationship, much less like personal relationships? Do we repeat those patterns until we change them?
Yes, I think this is something we observe in our own lives as well when we observe others. We see that, like a friend of mine, who has actually the same problem in various areas of her life. And when you start to analyze, then you see that the reason why maybe has to do with something which has happened early on in her life. And, we can change things, but they don't change by themselves. So becoming aware actually helps us and is needed in order to change things. So raising awareness is step one, and then
Okay.
understanding, and then analyzing what to do and making a plan, and then to follow up and do this repeatedly over time.
So let's break down those four parts because you mentioned four steps. First is,
Awareness,
okay, establishing awareness. Step two,
analyzing what it is,
okay. Step three,
strategy, a plan, how to change,
lay out a plan. And then step four,
do it, action.
okay. So take it. All right. And then maybe action. And then do you reevaluate at that point? Could a fifth step or an addended step is maybe look at your results?
Of course, feedback loops are
Okay. So
important.
that's okay. So that would be the process. I
Yes,
think in
yes,
terms of pictures and processes, excuse me. That's just how
yes,
my mind
yes,
works. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we see these things on the level of the physical changes, but also patterns in behavior. And it also has to do with the memory system, of course, So how do we recall our situations from the past? And actually there we have a great power in our hands because whenever we recall what happened in the past, we shape this memory in a way, and it is influenced by what we and who we are nowadays. So, and in this, we have the power of changing also internal patterns of thinking and of emotion. And that's actually a great insight gift, or yes, insight, which neuroscience helped us to understand how the memory system works. So we can even change things which have not been serving us for a long time, simply by recalling them and molding them, because they become, if you want to describe it in a picture, they become soft, and you can change the form. You can, like using it like a piece of dough, maybe, and you can form something. And so your experience, you can take it and then imagine, what would be the good solution? What This has happened, it's not good for me. How would I like it to be in the future? And if you do this together with a coach who is guiding you through this process, then you can really establish new patterns again, or new forms of seeing yourself, of experiencing yourself, and then in the end, really thinking and living in a different state.
So you can change your behaviors when you
can
first go
change your
through this.
behaviors, but behaviors are also part of how you think about how you see yourself, how you think,
Sure.
and how you feel.
See, my perception of me isn't necessarily the perception of you, of me.
Yeah.
And in general, I'm not referring to myself necessarily, but yes, it's interesting to get feedback from others, because how I see myself may not be the same as John sees me. And sometimes you need that shot in the head, or
Exactly.
maybe you had too many shots in the head. I don't know. Get us there. Well, how can people get in touch with you? Where do they go for your podcast?
Well, my podcast is available, Wire for Work.
Wired for Work.
On all the podcast where you get podcasts.
Okay.
And I also have a website connected with this.
Yes.
And then, of course, I'm just my email, my website is under construction. It is yourpersonalitycounts.com.
Okay.
And of course, I have a personal one with my name, drgabriellerodter.com as well.
That's great. Well, thanks. You've been a great guest today, and I love the 5-step circle, the loop, the feedback loop of improvement. That's the big takeaway from today's session. So, Gabrielle, thank you so much for your time, and we'll have you back in the future. And you were truly an amazing authority today.
Thank you, Mitch, for having me, and thank you for this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to mitchcarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.